The Saudi-led military coalition has agreed to allow humanitarian aid to reach Yemen through port of Hodeidah and Sanaa's airport. The UN welcomed the move but stressed the necessity to do more. Yemen country director, the International Rescue Committee, said, and we quote, "Humanitarian aid alone cannot meet the needs of Yemenis who are unjustly bearing the brunt of war." Sources close to the U.S. Department of State say that U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson personally asked the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman to ease the blockade against Yemen. The Saudi-led coalition had launched attacks and closed land air sea access on November 6th after the Iran-backed Houthi rebels launched a missile against Riyadh's international airport. Saudi Arabia believes Iran and the Lebanese ally Hezbollah smuggled the missile into Yemen and helped the Houthi rebels launch it. Shortly after the blockade, all international humanitarian agencies had expressed strong concern. The war in Yemen started in 2015, and 2 years down the line, the poorest of the Arabian state risks collapsing. The country lacks all basic needs. The UN repeatedly warned that Yemen is on the brink of famine. 7 million people face malnutrition. Majority of hospitals lack medicines and doctors, and almost 1 million citizens have been infected with cholera. And on this, I'm joined by my colleague Daniele from Newsroom. Daniele, how do we see this development in Yemen?
Well, this is definitely a positive development because, as you correctly pointed out, there is a cholera epidemic, 900,000 people suffering from cholera. The country is on the brink of famine, so obviously closing all land, air and sea access to a country which is only accessible by air and by sea mostly, Yemen, is on the tipping point of the Arabian Peninsula and is the poorest Arabian country, is obviously condemning the country to a catastrophe. So this is a positive development. The port of Hodeidah, which is being opened, is one of the two large ports in Yemen. It is the most open port for commercial. Normally 80% of the food which is entering Yemen, being imported into Yemen, normally crossed through Hodeidah. And also the Sanaa, capital city's airport, is a big airport. And the fact that now UN flights can enter into Yemen through the capital city airports will give the population relief. But this is a drop in the ocean of the desperate situation in which Yemen is today.
But in context of larger cooperation, Daniele, none of these states are on the common page when we take Saudi Arabia, Lebanon, Iran. Yemen continues to suffer as a fragmented country without any unilinear political authority, but also it has gone on to become bastion of some very hardline Islamic terrorist groups.
Absolutely. This is the problem of the war in Yemen. The war in Yemen started mostly as an internal matter between two, I would call them political slash ethnical slash religious slash military factions of the Yemeni society. But then it became a proxy war between Saudi Arabia and Iran once again, because this is what happens. All sort of conflicts which are which burst out of internal matters, then they are picked up by the major regional players. And in this atmosphere of turmoil, where you have the Shia Iran-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen fighting against the Saudi-led military coalition, in this atmosphere of instability and turmoil, obviously organizations like the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda prosper because they present themselves as the third party who is capable of bringing stability. And as absurd as it may seem, the fact that they have funds and they try to sweep into the regional ethnical divides gives them the upper hand often, and very much they grow. Like in Yemen, Al-Qaeda in the Arabic Peninsula has become a stable presence and is increasing by the day.
Thank you, Daniele, for this update.